So welcome everyone. Good evening to all of you. It's a pleasure to welcome you. For today's session. This is the second session of our online event UBT at a glance, and today is dedicated to the session to the field of environment. So my name is Bérénice Kemp. I'm currently working for the University of Bayreuth here in Bordeaux, and I'm in charge of this liaison office. Basically, I'm in charge of fostering collaborations between researchers in Bayreuth and its partners in Bordeaux, of course, but not only. Basically, if you are working and doing research in South Europe and North Africa, I'm also your contact point for connecting you with our researchers in Bayreuth. So do not hesitate to do so. And as I said, today is dedicated to the field of environment because we want our partners and especially future partners or future researchers to better understand and better know what we do here in Bayreuth. So that's why I've got the pleasure today to welcome on board Professor Peiffer, who is director of our research institute and research center BayCEER. And Professor Peiffer is going to explain everything you need to know about this research center and the research activities we have here in Bayreuth. This will be the first part of this session. And of course, after his presentation, you will have the opportunity to discuss directly with him and to ask your own questions. And I would be really happy if you ask as many questions as you wish, because this session is really made for you. So, Professor Peiffer, the floor is now yours. You're mute, sorry, you're mute.
So, merci bien. Bonsoir à Bordeaux. Ma français, ce n'est pas très bien, so, je crois que c'est mieux de parler anglais. C'est alors, je continue avec anglais. Yeah, good evening again. So my name is Stefan Peiffer. I'm the head of the Department of Hydrology at the University of Bayreuth, and also the current director of the Bayreuth Center of Ecology and Environmental Research. And I was asked by Beatrice to give a little overview about the research activities and in particular about what BayCEER is, which you will see in a minute, and to give you an overview about what kind of research we are doing and also what kind of infrastructure we have, and also study programs and so on and so on. My understanding is that it's mostly advanced scientists that are following this presentation. And I'm mostly happy to take questions afterwards. So I have about 10 slides, not more than that. I will keep this short, but we can certainly blow this up if you like. And so let's see that later on. I will now share the screen with you. And no, sorry, that was wrong. Okay. So this is, yeah, the introductory slide of a presentation today. And what you see already here is that this former student here, he is looking across a forest area, and this is part of the research that we are, that many of us are doing. I'm just looking for the laser pointer. So you see, he is on top. He is on an observation tower for meteorological parameters, wind speed, and so on. And that is part of the meteorology group, and is also larger part of field sites that we are running in the mountainous areas close to Bayreuth, which are now currently full with snow. It's about 0.5 meter or even more of snow. It's packed with snow. It's very beautiful there. So the BayCEER, Bayreuth Center of Environmental Research and Ecological Research, is the structural unit for one of the focus areas of the University of Bayreuth. I understand that yesterday there was a presentation by a colleague from about the African studies, and today we are in this field here, ecology and environmental research, which is part of the natural and engineering science. And you see there's more of this focus area like polymer and research, molecular biosciences, and there's also quite some overlap between these groups. So research is as you may have heard also in the other presentations, is kind of quite a highlight or quite an emphasis at our university, and we were quite lucky in that the earth and environmental sciences in Bayreuth were listed in the Nature Index Germany in 2020 as the top university in this field of earth and environmental science. So these are the associations like Max Planck, Helmholtz, Leibniz associations, big institutes, and the next one is University of Bayreuth. So that was quite an experience to learn about that, with lots of competing universities leaving behind, like the Munich University, Tübingen, and so on and so on. So, and I think that is due to the fact that we very early founded this structure of that we gave a framework to our research, to the ecological and environmental research. And a quick overview about these features. First of all, about the history itself. The BayCEER was founded in 2004 and is the succeeding institution from what was called BTEC. And BTEC means Bayreuth Institute of Terrestrial Öko, as in German, eco would be ecosystem research. And that was founded actually back in the 1990s to study the effects of acid rain on forest ecosystems. And that's where lots of the research history or the research background in Bayreuth is coming from. So grown by these challenges with acid rain, to understand how the soil reacts on acid rain, the streams, the groundwater, as well as the plants. And there was a government-funded institute and went over to the university in 2004, and since then it forms the structure for organizing research for the people being associated with BayCEER. It bundles the expertise of about 30 working groups in the biosciences and geosciences. I will present a list in a minute. And it helps to improve also the transfer between the transfer, knowledge transfer and capacity transfer between its members, both the students, but also the scientists themselves. So we have, of course, the BayCEER webpage, but we have a weekly lecture series. We have an annual BayCEER workshop where all the PhD students are introducing themselves and learn about what they are doing. And there is really interesting research between the students came out of these workshops. And we also have an annual retreat with experience with more or less the experience of senior scientists, where we just discuss future research activities. I mean, this is all a bit short now with the Corona thing, but I guess we will hopefully return to normality in fall, at least, or in summer. Currently, we have about 80 members, which is profs, but also lots of postdocs. And it is led by a 5-member steering committee, which regularly meets and decides on issues that are coming up, and also thinks about future strategic developments and positions, and also argumentations with the university board, which is always important to have an open ear there. So it has certain infrastructures that are that can be, or that should be, and can be, and will be used by its members. And these are a key lab in isotope biogeochemistry with several isotopic facilities. We're currently applying for what is called the DFG, so the German research funding organizations, DFG core facility, so that also other research groups may cooperate with us and make use of the facilities, and that might be also of interest for you in Bordeaux. We have a key lab in experimental biogeochemistry, that is research related to the use of spectrum microscopy in resolving at the interface between microbiology and plants, microbiology and minerals, so that we can study these interactions. We have a central analytical chemistry unit. That means you can just send in samples to be analyzed. An IT and database systems group, so that is running all the database administration systems, but also gives support, for example, in organizing conferences and workshops and so on. And also a BayCEER office with people people working there and being and supporting all these things. So just to give a little overview about the working groups, which are split into geo and bio. And that means I don't want to go all of this, but just, yeah, so as you may imagine, there's hydrology as well, which is myself, but also meteorology, soil science, and so on. So this is the geo side. And here in the biological side, we have the classical ecological or physiological biology groups. So the research fields are covering a broad range, which is here quite generic. So it's about global change issues, consequences, projections, and mitigation issues. It's about ecosystems and function and services, and very closely related to this, of course, biodiversity aspects, but all in the context of the interaction between the geo and the biosphere. And there's also a focus on the environment and nature conservation and developing strategies and applications. Just a look here on some coordinated research groups. That means research groups that are funded as a collaborative initiative, like here, that is kind of a current highlight is the so-called SFB. Maybe you've heard about that. It's called Sonderforschungsbereich in German, which is a collaborative research center. It's very highly reputed if you have something in your university, and we have one here on microplastics. So this is an interaction between indeed polymer chemists that produced more or less these plastics, and now they research about how to produce plastics that make no harm in the environment. Biologists who study the effect on organisms, but also ecosystems, and geoscientists who study the fate of the microplastic particles in the environment. Another coordinated research groups, in which I'm the PI of, is a Bavarian research network that is called the effect of multiple stresses on streams during climate change. And another one is on, as you see, diversity components and mosquito-borne diseases in face of climate change. It's also a German-wide network. European Union-wide network is then an ITN in which I'm being involved, being headed by the Uni Utrecht. It's about diffuse phosphorus input to surface water. And here we intend to focus mainly on the element iron as an element that is able to not only bind iron, but it's also able to serve in the combination iron phosphates, for example, to serve as fertilizers. And so we have the idea to discuss this in a combination between removal, recycling, and management of phosphate through the use of iron. And another German-wide project is here on the rhizosphere traits, enhancing yield resilience to drought in modern cropping systems. And the focus is here from the Bayreuth groups is on this is on the interaction between rhizospheres, the traits, but also the soil aspects, soil physics, microbiology as well. So this is larger projects, coordinated research groups, and just a few projects to give you a bit of an idea, to have a bit of an overview about the different directions. For example, this is smaller projects here, but it's about the ecological role of silicon in tropical forests. How do they affect the plant's nutrient stoichiometry, drought resistance, and so on. A more geochemical topic, it's about that from our group, selenate reduction by sulfidized, should be sulfidized, not sulfided, zero valent iron. And that is has something to do with the remediation, to use nanoparticles that are sulfidized to reduce selenate. And then the question of arsenic toxicity in rice. And here, this is a collaboration between a geochemist, Ms. Plana Friedrich, and a plant physiologist, Stefan Clemens. And just an example from the meteorology group, illuminating the dark side of surface meteorology. It's about a new framework to explain atmospheric transport and turbulent mixing in the weak wind boundary layer. And that is from Christoph Thomas. I think it's his ERC that he received recently. So yeah, this gives you a bit of an overview about what topics we are looking at. We have a PhD program, a known PhD program in the Bayreuth Natural Science Graduate School. And this PhD program is Ecology, Environmental Research. We have 3 international master programs. If there is some interest maybe from students or so, we can have a look into the website later on. And we have also some German study programs where the language is typically in German. So in the master programs, if there is a foreign student, it will be changed also to English. But so in the master programs in geoecology, for example, most classes are in English currently because there's so many mixing between these international master programs and the German master program, so that the regular language is, the official language is German, but the regular language is, or the practiced language is then English. What is quite interesting for our students is that they can achieve a minor in environmental law, that is collaboration with a law faculty, which is very popular. So yeah, I think that's it basically. And I would be now very happy to discuss with you some issues, some questions, and so on.
Thank you very much, Professor Peiffer. So as you heard, the floor is now yours. So do not hesitate to ask your question, and to do so, write your name in the Q&A tab, and then I will open the mic for you and you can ask directly the question to Professor Peiffer. So please go ahead. And of course, if you are too shy to ask your question orally, you can write your question in the chat box if it's more convenient for you. So I saw some people thanking for the presentation. Does it mean you want to ask a question? Chetia, maybe first? Can you tell me if you want to ask a question? And then Ariana? Come on. First question.
I fully understand that this is not, it would also not be my favorite platform to discuss things through online.
Yeah, I know it's not so easy, but we need to go with the circumstances, and we intend actually to organize real meetings when we can travel and meet without restrictions at some point. There's a question from Ariana. Can you explain a little bit more about the SFB program?
Okay. So I'm
and the Polymers collaborations. That's an additional information for the question.
And what?
And the Polymers collaborations.
Yeah, okay. So the SFB, that consists, do you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. It consists of about 30, or yeah, I think it's about 30 scientists that are being involved with roughly the same number of PhD students from these three groups that I was talking about. And the role of the polymer chemists is manifold. So they, first of all, they produce substances, microplastic particles, with which we can do joint experiments, and they manufacture this according to our wishes. So like with fluorescent, so they attribute some fluorescency to it, so that we can make experiments in tracing it in environmental experiments and so on. So that is one role. And the other role is that they, for example, I have a collaboration no, it's not polymer chemistry. It's just physical chemistry. We want to understand the interaction between microplastic particles, in that particular case, it's polystyrene, with iron oxide. So the idea is that once these iron oxides and humic materials, so the idea is that once these particles are in the environment, sooner or later they will interact with the environmental materials, and iron oxides and humic materials, organic matter, is certainly candidates that are for which we can expect that there is a strong interaction, and we want to learn what these interactions are doing. So do they behave as colloids? Do they affect the surface properties of, so the microplastic particles affect the surface properties of the iron oxides and vice versa? And the physical chemistry people, they are doing research and understanding processes on the surfaces, and be doing experiments that are complementary to it. So that is physical chemistry, and then a collaboration between a polymer chemist and an inorganic chemist is about constructing polymers that are degradable because they are built as kind of composites between some polymers on the one hand, but also inorganic components that will stimulate biodegradation. So that kind of stuff. And it ranges then into biochemistry, so where they look at the effects on the biochemical response, in cell biochemical response. So that is then collaboration between biology and biochemistry. So that kind of collaboration.
Thank you. So maybe I'm going to ask Shedia to ask yourself your question. So I will open the mic for you because your question is too open for me to ask to Professor Peiffer. So he will need more input from you in order to better answer your question. So if you don't mind, I'm opening for you the mic, and then if you unmute yourself, you can ask directly your question.
I don't know if you hear me or not.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay, thank you again. I'm Shadia Jabr from Tunisia. My topic is the marine biology. Just that's why I would like to know if your university has a project on general on the marine biology, and specifically on the stock assessment for some species of fishes. So if we can do a collaboration with the North Africa, particularly in Tunisia, and your university in this aspect particularly.
Yeah, so marine scientists in general, or marine science in general, is not an issue of the Uni of Bayreuth. So that is, we're too far away from the ocean, and that's why we're focusing generally on terrestrial environments. But my colleague Christian Lafarge, who is also the PI of this microplastic CRC, he is very much involved actually in research on microplastic effects on marine organisms as well. So that is certainly a person, or people that are collaborating with him, to whom you could turn, and with whom you could get into contact, or Berenice may establish that kind of contact. I don't know how this works then. Yeah, but that is, that is to my knowledge, there's not much more than this in terms of marine research.
Thank you very much, Professor.
So we have a little bit of collaboration with marine scientists, a co-worker of mine, and it's about, but it's not biology, it's more hydrology. Earth sciences is about groundwater seeping into beaches, what the effects is on geochemistry and so on. So that is, but it's more collaborations, to be honest.
Next question will be from Adelmo Name. So I'm going to open the mic for you and please ask your question. You need to, yeah.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for the talk, and I would like to ask if there is a group that works on water desalination, and if also there are another group that work on water quality control, for example, development of something platform.
So the first one was water salinization, and what was the second one?
The biosensing and sensing of hazardous compound, for example, in water.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so there's no one to work on desalinization or any related issues. It's not an engineering department or engineering, department, so to say. We don't have this at the uni here, but hazardous compounds is an issue that we're focusing from an inorganic side very heavily. If this might find your interest, so that's the environmental geochemistry people and myself, my group as well. And from the organic side, we did this quite a lot, but not anymore because we don't have the capacity anymore. So it returns a little bit in the microplastic context with now a new professorship in ecotoxicology. But so from an organic point of view, there is no expertise there. From an inorganic point of view, there's clearly a strong expertise in Bayreuth. So I don't know what you had in mind. Is it probably more or less organic substances, or is it?
Okay, and just I want to ask about the technique that used to, for example, to sense the microplastic in water. For example, you work with Raman spectroscopy or another technique?
Yes. Yeah, Raman spectroscopy. And so what we are actually doing is when we want to detect microplastic particles in experiments, we do a lot of experimental work, like in flume experiments, sedimentation ponds or so. We use fluorescence. So we work with fluorescing particles and use equipment that allows us to trace them, so to say. And we may think about new techniques like doping microplastic particles with metals so that we can determine just the metals. So that's something that we have in mind with a polymer group. Yeah, but the classical way is, and that is relatively sophisticated in this group from the animal ecology. They are the ones that are running this strongly, this analytical technique to detect microplastic particles in the environment, and Raman spectroscopy is certainly the standard technique or the state-of-the-art technique in this moment, and they're doing this. And I was involved in a collaboration with a soil scientist, and we used, what was it actually? I just a second. I have to just a second.
Okay.
It's a GCMS technique. It's TED. I forgot what this actually means. TED. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, but Rahman, yes. To make a long story short.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to ask Ariana to ask your question. The mic is now open.
Hello, thank you for the talk.
Hello.
It's me again. Coming back to the polymer questions, I wanted to know, there are like long-term funding for this study of the toxicology of the synthetic polymers. I don't know, the degradation is some decades and century of years. There, how it is studied, this biodegradation of the synthetic materials?
Oh, now, to be honest, this is really a question that should be given to those that are doing that kind of experiments. It's really not my field. I mean,
I mean, in the environmentally studies or toxicology that they do, or the degradation?
No, this is a more lab-based. It's not it's not a study. It's not exposure into the environment.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the eco toxicology group that is starting only in a year or so, or in half a year. So it's not yet starting. It has not yet started the research, but what the biologists are doing, they want to understand the effect of microplastic particles by uptake of different organisms, earthworms, but also fish, and what it does to the physiology there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there another question? No question? It's really a nice opportunity for you to ask all the scientific questions you may have. So do not hesitate. Then, if there is no more question, I suggest we close the session. Maybe a last word from you, Professor Peiffer, before we close the session.
Yeah, maybe as a last word, as I just mentioned, so it's definitely not the way, my favorite way of presenting something from us through this kind of online version. And I would be really happy either to do this live as in person in Bordeaux. It would be certainly a good opportunity. Maybe I have to convince our university board to do this, or to invite you to come to visit us and seek for or to write me actually, and then we can channel these questions a little bit more into or to those people that are really in this field, like biologists who are doing these cell studies or so. Because I just know a little bit about what they are doing, but I don't know the full details, of course. And so from that point of view, I would like to really encourage you to do this. Just either approach Berenice or approach myself, and then we can establish contacts.
Just for you to know, for people who might be interested in doing a mobility short or long mobility to Bayreuth, I'm organizing on next Monday a specific session to fund your mobility, which is a key word when we talk about research and mobility. So you need to get funded. So do not miss this session if you're interested to know what opportunities you have to go when we can, of course, to Bayreuth and how you can get funded. So if you're interested, do not hesitate to register. And Professor Peiffer, there is in the meantime a last question, so I'm going to ask it to you. Someone is interested in working on the impact of urbanization and pollution on the dynamics of the coast. So the question is, are you working on it? Do you have interest for collaboration on this topic?
So that is it more related to an urban planning, or is it more related to the fate of
So I'm going to ask Safa.
Yeah.
The floor is yours, so you can ask, please, your question and add the information Professor Peiffer needs to answer your question. The mic is open. You have to unmute yourself. Safa, are you still here? Okay, so there is no clarification on the question.
Mm-hmm.
So Safa, in this case, I invite you to send me a message, an email with clarification for your question, and I will send it to Professor Peiffer later on. So once again, I would like to thank you very much for your participation, I hope you enjoyed it and you got the information you need. Do not hesitate once again to contact us if you need more information or if you want to be connected with the right person or researchers to discuss maybe your postdoc project or mobility project to Bayreuth. We are really open to that. And for people in Bordeaux, just know that I am located at the University of Bordeaux. So I will be actually your contact point for any of your projects in collaboration with Bayreuth. Of course, you can contact directly Professor Peiffer. There is no, it's not a problem, but just know that I'm here to help you implement your project, mobility project to Bayreuth. So this session will be available online soon. And you can have an access to this content at any time. And we wish you actually a very nice evening, and let's keep in touch.
Could I ask a last question, maybe to you? So, I mean, it would be also, so now I gave this overview about what we are doing, but I don't have any idea about what people in Bordeaux are doing. So it would be nice to learn about that as well. Is there something that is planned?
It is, as I said, there are many events or ideas for events I would like to implement, organize in Bordeaux and also in Bayreuth. Okay. So I've got a meeting tomorrow with someone at the University of Bordeaux who is in charge of the animation of the scientific community. And I hope we can organize some bilateral symposium to get to know each other so that researchers in Bayreuth and Bordeaux can meet live and not online with Zoom, and to have a more personal discussions and interactions. So it will be, it is planned. So if you are interested in getting this information, once again, do not hesitate to contact me and I will give you all the information you need. But as I said, it's really planned that we meet really on site in Bayreuth and in Bordeaux.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening and let's keep in touch and see you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.